What is up, and welcome back to another episode of So There's That. I am your hostess, doing the mostest, Kivanshi, and we are here for the final awards film review of the month of January. And today we're going to be discussing the Oscars Best Actress in a Leading Role. Okay, so I've been waiting for these nominees to come out, and obviously it was pushed back and postponed twice due to the LA fires. First off, the perseverance and the community of the people in LA. Shout out to y'all and the things that you've had to endure. I know that there were some comments made by people who don't live there and people who are uber desensitized to people facing tragedy in their lives, but I'm so glad that other people in the world and the people who actually live there have it in their hearts to donate, to send supplies, goods, clothes, and just everybody who came around to physically help search for pets, search for other loved ones, help get people evacuated, and all of the different companies that open up their stores and their libraries and Airbnbs and such to house people who have been displaced by this natural disaster. So much love to all of the people who were affected by the fires, and that includes not only the people whose houses left, but even the family members of those who took those people in, because it takes a community, it takes a village, and when one person is affected, everybody else is. So super excited that it seems to be recovering and things seem to be going well, and there was rain recently as well as the winds and stuff dying down. So y'all aren't new to this, and I definitely see y'all building something stronger and just coming out on the other side and just being as ready as you can for the next thing to come your way. So that is my personal message to everybody in LA, and a thank you again to everybody that donated whatever they could to the cause. Now, getting into this category, I'm first just gonna preface everything by always saying these are just my opinions. Yes, I'm in the film industry. Yes, I am knowledgeable to a nice degree of things. At the end of the day, I think that there are certain things that come with implicit bias, and not necessarily saying it's a bad thing, and we'll discuss good bias and like bad bias when we get into the nominees, but just want to preface that it's all opinion. And I continue to stress that, especially in a category like a singular performance versus like best cinematography or stuff like that, is because it all kind of boils down to like who you like, okay? And this category this year is I'm trying to work on my Australian accent. It has me so stressed. It has me stressed out because I would say the majority of the nominees, there are so many arguments on why one person should win over the other, and it has me stressed out. And I have my favorites, which I'll talk about in the end, and I'll give y'all like my top two after we go through like the performances of each individual. And I'm stressed, and March 2nd can't get here fast enough because I know I'm gonna be holding my breath, and I'm actually going to like a live film event where they're gonna be screening the Oscars in all of the theaters they have at one of the private theaters. So I'm gonna be sitting in. I decided to go because one, I think it's cool, and two, I think if I'm in my house, I'm more likely to like scream. But if I'm around others, I'm gonna be stressed, but it can be contained, and I can listen to the murmurs and the disappointments or excitement of everybody else, and I think it'll kind of like soothe me a little bit instead of just being at home like freaking out and pulling my hair out or whatever. So let's get into basically what you're supposed to be getting judged on when the voters watch these movies and then decide on who they're gonna vote for. To win an Oscar for Best Actress Leading Role, an actress needs to deliver a critically acclaimed, nuanced performance in a prominent role within a well-received film, garnering recognition from the Academy's acting branch voters through strong reviews, award campaign strategies, and a compelling portrayal of a complex character that resonates with audiences and Academy members. So something to just kind of harp on there. Awards campaign strategies. So in the Oscars, for a lot of these different categories, let's say like short film or like documentary or like best short live action or whatever, one of the qualifications is that this should have been a winning movie in other film festivals. So like you can't even submit for your consideration for the Oscars unless it's already critically acclaimed across other film festivals and other award ceremonies. So it's kind of like that as well when we're talking about awards campaign strategies and stuff like that. Like, how are you also campaigning and marketing your movie? And then how are you campaigning and marketing the individuals that you are submitting in these roles? So in case y'all didn't know, if a company or a studio or whatever is submitting an actor for like supporting actor and actress, leading actor and actress, like you can't just be like, hey, consider them. Like, what are you doing to actively campaign and promote for your person? Why should we want to watch what they're in? And seeing a lot of people be upset by certain snubs or whatever across the different awards announcements and nominees that's been coming out, it's been a considerable like difference in the way some people are campaigned for by their studio and the way others are they could do better in future years. So just want to point that out for y'all. Things to consider: key factors, exceptional acting skills. So the most crucial aspect of this entire category is delivering a powerful, layered performance that showcases a wide range of emotions and effectively conveys the character's motivation and their arc. So at the top of the list, what is your range and depth within the role, and did you deliver this while staying true to the arc, and does it make sense? So like, number one, did you make people feel things? You know what I mean? Choosing the right role. Oh, now this is like a song where you have like a great singer on a song when you don't like it because you're like, this song and this person's voice, it just not the same, like they didn't marry together. So being the right actress in the right role plays a part. Selecting a character with substantial depth and emotional complexity can significantly increase the chances of a memorable performance. So this is actually on the actor, and from this point on, I'm just gonna refer to them as actor instead of actresses. When I say actor, I mean all of them. With this, right? So this is on the performer when the scripts and stuff are coming off their desk, right? Obviously, you know, they'll choose stuff that they want to have fun. It kind of tests them. They're doing something that they've never done before. They're doing something that they always wanted to do. But thinking about your career and the trajectory of your own career and where you want to go with the goals and such, you do have to consider, will this be something that pulls something out of me that is Oscar worthy? And that's on the actor and the agent and the team when this comes their way. Critical acclaim. So positive reviews from prominent critics and publications play a vital role in attracting attention from Academy voters. So this message is for all of you who sit at home, sit on your phones, sit on Twitter, sit on social media and be like, ain't nobody even talking about this, da da da. From prominent critics and publications. Your Twitter page is not a prominent critic and it's not a publication. So while you may have watched the movie and maybe it didn't resonate with you, a lot of these things are screened in advance with major publications that have earned their right and the trust of the film industry to say yay or nay whenever they're critiquing a film. So public opinion about the film itself in like public reviews is, you know, we want that, right? But this particular factor is what plays a role when maybe the public is like, this is an objectively terrible film, but critics are like, no, let me tell you why this film is great, especially when you're lining up the critique with the categories in which they could potentially compete in. So how do I break this down? So I was an instructor and we had to grade other instructors in order to meet certain things. So the highest level you can get was outstanding. The lowest that you can get is needs improvement. And how to get to an outstanding is you had to meet all of like the basic satisfactory items, right? And then if you met those basic satisfactory items, okay, now we're moving up to the next category of excellent. Did you also meet these things too? And then if you did, then we're moving up to outstanding. Did you meet all of those things? Oh, you didn't? Okay, we're gonna keep this at an excellent, right? But there were some people who did some classes and they taught some classes where based on just the grading criteria, they were an excellent, right? But me sitting in it, I was like, wow, this is one of the most boring classes I've ever sat through in my life. So will I get feedback on how to like make it livelier and how to get to that next step of an outstanding and stuff like that? How do you engage? How do you keep attention? Yes. But when we're just looking at the facts of what they did, they met these things and they didn't do anything to get a needs improvement, so they ticked all the boxes. And so when you're talking about this critical acclaim and we're talking about the prominent critics and stuff like that, they're not necessarily looking at what the average movie goer would look at. They're looking at these categories and they're like, okay, did they meet this? Did they do this? Did they do this? And did they do this? Okay, yes. And then so they're writing and staging the publication in a way that sheds a positive light on the project. I hope that makes sense. That's like the biggest thing that I've been seeing, especially when everybody's talking about like who got snubbed and stuff like that. It's like, well, just because you like them and you were entertained doesn't necessarily mean what they did met these boxes. And just because you don't like what the movie objectively was doesn't mean that the movie or that actor didn't meet the things that got them nominated and considered in this category. So hope that makes sense. All right. Awards campaigning. Like I already said, a well-executed awards campaign, including interviews. Ooh, we're going to get into that. Screenings. Targeted outreach to Academy members can help generate buzz and support for the actress's performance. So I already talked about the awards campaigning. We're talking about interviews, and some of these nominees have been everywhere in all of these interviews, right? Screenings, which I already mentioned, and targeted outreach to Academy members. Now, this could be seen, it's strategy. At the end of the day, how you campaign is strategy. Like, period. You have to win the voters over, okay? And the voters aren't us. I did not vote in this. I was able to vote in one of these awards that's coming out. I won't say which, but I didn't vote in this. I can confidently tell you that. Film quality. The overall quality of the film is important to Academy voters. Often consider the entire package, not just the individual performance. We have seen people over time deliver phenomenal performances in very shitty movies. So for this, it's not only does the actor have to stand apart from the other actors in this category, but the movie itself, like the people who directed it and did the cinematography, also have to frame it in a way that elevates these actors' performances, okay? Timing and competition. Boom. Boom. Timing and competition. The competitive landscape in a given year, including the performances of the other nominated actresses, can impact the outcome. Okay, so depending on like budget, time, and stuff to make your movie, this is where like your chief marketing officer is coming in. You're sitting with the studios, you're sitting with the publicists, and you are scaling out all of the stuff that you want to do. So let's say that your film comes out in, let's use Wicked for example. Wicked came out in November. We saw the marketing and everything for Wicked in like what, March of last year? Something like that. We have been talking about Wicked damn near all 2024. Damn near all 2024. And then from there, as you're gaining the buzz, then the people are starting to do the work for you. They're posting their favorite Elphaba clips. They're posting the first time they saw it on Broadway when it originally aired. They're posting when they went to go see it after it was still on Broadway without Idina Menzel. They're doing all these singing stuff on there. And you got all these TikToks and you got all these Instagram reels and you have all these other things. Then you have the actors and stuff themselves doing all of these different interviews and just really being super and hyper emotional and just wait until you see it. I promise you it's going to be everything. Like, even though it was coming out at the end of the year, it has already cemented itself into the public and into the Academy voters because we've been talking about this for so long. So this is where it comes in being very strategic in what you can and cannot do before your film airs and immediately upon when it airs. Like after post-production, you're in it. After it airs, you're in it. And it can be really fucking annoying to continue to be answering the same questions over and over and over, especially with the interviews and stuff, and setting that up with your talent. But it's important. More important points to remember. Now this goes into the bias that I was telling you about. Like there can be good bias and there can be bad bias, I guess. For me, bias isn't inherently bad. It just simply means a way that one can be swayed or skewed in one place or another. So variety in roles. The actor demonstrating versatility by taking on diverse character roles across different genres can enhance the actress's reputation. So even outside of what you see in this performance, do they always do this? Have we seen anything else? What is their range? And if you know that you've seen them in other things, I'll use Jamie Foxx as an example. They almost didn't want to hire Jamie Foxx in Any Given Sunday because they were like, we only seen him do comedy. He does stand-up. He did In Living Color. He's doing the Jamie Foxx show. He's just a joke. Like, I don't know if we want to do it. And he came out with Any Given Sunday and blew that shit out of the water. And so from there, then you're getting action roles and then you're getting more drama roles and you're getting all of these other things. And so in this, it's almost like you got to have a thought in your head. I think, like I've always said, an actor just wants to work. Like an actor just wants to work. But also there's nothing wrong with an actor who wants to work, who also would love to do something that they feel is very much Oscar worthy. So this is something that they would have to think about at the very beginning of their career, or depending on what's going on, you can always make a change within your career to pivot and kind of like unbox yourself. But the variety of roles, again, it also goes into, are you getting selected for these things? So it's partially on the actor, but then it's also on the people. Are you giving those people a chance to have variety in their roles? Industry recognition. Building a career with strong performances in notable films can increase an actress's visibility and credibility within the industry. Again, some of this stuff is not in the actor's hands, but when you do get those roles, what are you doing when you have them? And so again, this goes back to the person's agent, their manager, their publicist, social media manager, and everybody on your team, from your stylist or everything. How are they getting you out there? And not just doing interviews and stuff with big publications, but even these smaller publications. Are you on people's YouTube's page? Are you on their shorts? Like, what is your interaction with the public, and how many times can people see your videos before they're like, I keep seeing this pop up on my algorithm, who is this person? I would say right now, who's doing that a lot right now, Aaron Pierre, Kelvin Harrison Jr., Keke Palmer. Even though we all know Keke Palmer, there's this even bigger surge for Keke Palmer right now. SZA, Janelle James. So it's like, how do you keep that momentum going? And a lot of it is not about the big things. It's about the baby steps. And it's always like an honor, especially when the talent that people enjoy, even if the world doesn't know you, to go to these smaller publications and meet with them and talk to them and stuff like that. Because that's how you're gonna build that up. And then when you're getting to the bigger publications and stuff like that, you've already been making these rounds, and the smaller micro influencers and micro reporters have already been circling this within their own communities as well, and they're closer to the people, so they're touching a lot more people potentially because they're on the ground as a regular fan, as opposed to somebody at like the Hollywood Reporter or Variety. So that's a note to upcoming talent. Don't forget the little guy. Okay. Public perception. Positive public perception and audience engagement with a character can contribute to an actress's Oscars chances. So again, that kind of goes into what I was just talking about based under like industry recognition. How are you communicating with the public, not just with yourself, but just even with your character? And right now on Twitter, these like live tweets and watch parties and stuff that's happening with films and stuff like that, I will say Halle Berry is like the number one for me when it comes to public reception and audience engagement with the character. Anytime she has a project out, like she is out here. My sis did for her movie, she did like the bad wig movie stuff. People was coming to the theaters with a bad wig. She popped up at some of the theaters with her bad wig, and it wasn't even, the wig had nothing to do with the movie that she was doing, but just her engagement with her audience. She is keyed in to her fans, like top tier. I will say Jessica Francis Dukes is another one with Earth Abides on Twitter. Just looking in the thread and replying to people. She's like posting different podcasts who talk about the show. She's posting like smaller articles and publications. Amira Vaughn with Doc on Fox. The actress who plays Shaker on Found. And the actor who plays Detective Mallory on Found. I can't think of their real names right now. But Harold Perrineau for From, Liz Saunders for From. So we're seeing a lot more actors, writers, producers, directors interacting and getting that buzz through threads and just being able to trend and stuff like that. And so I think that that's a very good thing that people are doing now to engage with the public. That way, once they're at Oscar status, you already have that public backing. Okay. Now that we have I don't know why I'm slipping into a British. See, it's because I'm watching The Couple Next Door and the whole thing is British. Now that we have all of that information, okay, I want you to let that information settle. Okay, maybe you didn't know what it all entailed and you're just like, I know so-and-so better win, because if they don't, I'm boycotting the Oscars for the next 10 years. Like, calm down, calmate, okay? Let it sink, let it soak. Okay, let's be very tranquil, okay? Now that we have all this information, let's get into the nominees for Best Actress in a Leading Role. First, we have Cynthia Erivo for Wicked. We have Karla Sofia Gascon for Emilia Perez. We have Mikey Madison for Anora. Demi The Substance. And Fernanda Torres, I'm Still Here. I'm trying not to sing this damn song. I'm fighting everything in me to not sing this song. Y'all know the song. You know the song. Go look it up. Hold on. Let me compose myself. I'm still here. I couldn't. I had to do it. I'm sorry. Okay. Let's talk about it. Okay. I'm going to just start this off. So this is, again, all opinions. So don't come for me. Okay, you can come for me, but come for me respectfully. I'm all for like respectful debates, respectful disagreements, because how people touch you ain't how they always touch me. Like, we not gonna always like feel the same things in a movie theater. And then me, honestly, like emotionally, the way I'm wired, it's so weird. There are like films that like globally people are like, oh my god, I cried so much, and I'm just like, why? And then there's films where like nobody's crying and I'm just over here like, the deeper me meaning of when they turned the power off on the video game. They were turning the power off for everybody having access to them, and they no longer have access to them anymore. They cut it off, the electrical current. Like, I be finding like emotions in the most odd ways. Okay, so just letting you know a little bit about me and how I receive things emotionally, especially when it comes to performances in film and television. So I just want to let you know, like, I may not have felt what you felt by any of these ladies' performances, and that's okay. You know, we're all different. We grew up differently. So let's just talk about the performances in general, and then I'm gonna go into like some personal thoughts, and then I'm gonna get into like bias and where I think things could be swayed and so on and so forth. All right, Cynthia Erivo in Wicked. If Elphaba was not black, I don't think this movie would have made me cry at all. I actually cried twice in this movie, and when I left the theater, the movie and certain scenes sat with me for like a week. They were just on me, and not so much that I could like, I don't know, I wasn't like listening to the soundtrack every day like some people, or watched it like 10 times after that, but just the weight of what Cynthia did in this role and what Elphaba means and what she represents, and just even changing her ethnicity and the hair and the nails and everything, it made the story very different. While still keeping with the original arc, it just changed so much. I found myself thinking about, you know, even my own cousins and, you know, like own family members growing up wishing that they were not black, having comments about, I'm not gonna marry a black man or have kids with black men because I don't want my children to go through what I went through, thinking about how they can bleach their skin and stuff like that. And so again, my experience as a black woman and knowing that these are things that black people experience and black people close to me have experienced, and then you have this woman that is green and was born that way, not because she asked for it, then treated in a way by her parents because of her skin color. And that happens a lot in black communities, just internalized colorism. Just even if you don't think you are, just being a kid and somebody being like, you black ass this and you blacky that, from the people who's supposed to be loving you, right? And so knowing that, the nose and the lips and the everything, and bringing that into that, I feel like Cynthia really probably just consumed and remembered everything that she's ever heard just as a black woman, and it was very present in the way that she portrayed Elphaba in Wicked. And so that for me is what kind of like stayed and what stuck, because black women we take a lot, and again, the black girl magic, and then people asking, oh my god, how do you do that? I wish I could get some black girl magic. And then it's literally a story about somebody trying to steal this girl's black girl magic. There were just so many parallels, and I think that she did a really good job in that. I also think her staying in her green body paint helped her stay grounded in what she was about to do with this role. And so not switching in and out of it, I think, was a very smart decision, and a very specific decision on her part, because it lent itself to the pain and the internal longing and the need for acceptance that was at the core of this movie. Okay, so that's my thoughts on that. Karla, Sofia, Gascon, and Emilia, Perez. So this was a very nuanced performance from Karla. Having to play a woman who was a man who is now a woman, but you can't tell your own wife who you were and how you know others like information. You can't talk to your kids like they're your kids. You're now on this other side of things while you're away from the life that you were in as like a drug lord who caused other families harm, to then be on the side where you're trying to kind of escape this, and then you get to see how much destruction you actually caused in other people's lives. And so you're trying to like do what you can to like rectify a situation that you absolutely cannot do, because at the end of the day you can't bring these people's families back. And also in your need for control, you end up ultimately destroying the family that you're trying to desperately hold on to. So this was, I imagine it was tough and a fun challenge for Karla, because switching between that softness, right, that finally like living in your own truth and trying to be homegirl and, you know, trying to be the aunt to these kids, but then when something comes up, you turn into the man that you were, the vicious killer that you were, and trying to come to realize that yes, you changed your outer appearance because you always wanted to live as a woman, but you are still that monster that everybody fears. And changing your outside doesn't change your inside when you didn't do any of the inner work to actually be different. And so watching her go through this and switch through this in these moments, especially with Selena Gomez's character, because that's the character she's lying to the most, having to give that bite and show those fangs and show those horns of the devil and then pull back, I thought she did very beautifully. And then other than that, just because the whole thing is a musical, much like Wicked, obviously, I still felt like the way that they did the songs, and I actually reviewed this film for the Critics' Choice Awards, I think. Was my first ones that I did? For the Critics' Choice Awards. I love the way that the dialogue flowed into the song, and the song didn't disrupt the dialogue. Like, it wasn't like, again, angry dialogue and then there's this pregnant pause and then these strings come in or whatever. It was like angry dialogue, and then the beat came in underneath the angry dialogue, and then they flowed into the song. So they weren't trying to like they weren't trying to force music. The music ended up just basically blending in with the tone of whatever. And so delivering the songs and delivering some of these lines had some of the most beautiful performances to me, especially at the end. I loved it so much. Mikey, Madison, and Anora. I thought she did well. If you don't know Anora, it's basically this woman. She's a sex worker, but she also works at a strip club, and she meets a rich Russian young man. I don't know, he has to be like 20. And they're kind of just, he wants to buy all of her time and, you know, wants her to be his girlfriend and have all these things or whatever. But then his family finds out about it, and it's a whole pursuit of trying to get their quick Vegas marriage annulled. And in this, she's kind of like a powerhouse, just kind of badass. When you're a sex worker, you kind of always have to like defend yourself. And so she's put it on this front of just being like this strong woman. Like, yeah, these Russians are coming and it's kind of some scary shit happening, but you know what? I'm still going to like stand my ground and stuff like that. It's not until we get to the end that you really see what she uses sex for and what she's hiding and what she's masking, that you really get to penetrate the wall that she has built up within herself to her sister, and to everyone around her. For me, the movie itself was entertaining. And I thought Mikey Madison did a good job in the role, in the way that she was able to deliver, like, her comedic timing, even though, like, in those scenes it wasn't funny. Her comedic timing and her sarcasm and everything was really good. And so a lot of us were in the theaters laughing, just like, I don't know, just her delivery of that, I don't know, I don't want to say like that person or that lifestyle, but just like the way that you kind of have to be, you got to be quick on your toes, and the way that she delivered those things was really good. I personally was surprised to see her on this list, because I don't know that I would pick it out of all the movies that I saw last year as an Oscar-worthy performance. That's just me. I don't have an Oscar-worthy performance out here. I'm not nominated, so I mean, sure, y'all might be like, well, you can say that because you're not, whatever. I'm just saying, out of all of these award shows and all of these things, I have seen so many of these movies. I mean, so many of these movies, okay? So even though I'm not the one getting critiqued or, you know, at the awards or whatever, I have watched these films more than once, just throughout the year. And yeah, it's a fun movie. I would watch it again. I just didn't feel like this is an Oscar performance, okay? But I do think she has it in her to give us an Oscar performance, and I would love to see her in more movies. And I mean, this was a pretty, I don't know if daring is necessarily the word, but how they shot it though, how they shot it was absolutely incredible. Shout out to Sean Baker. But yeah, that's just how I feel about it. All right, moving on to Demi Moore, The Substance. Always been a fan of Demi Moore. I want more movies like Demi Moore's filmography. I think we are deserving of that. We need more of those mid-budget, low-budget films going straight to TBS, TNT, or something like that. Demi Moore. Demi Moore did something that is much different than we know her for, and she chose a film that was about beauty fading and the ugliness that can come from within you by chasing those beauty standards. And we know Demi Moore to be one of the most beautiful actresses that have ever graced our screens. Even shaved bald completely in G.I. Jane. So it's definitely very daring, okay? I would say out of the choices in this film, I think Demi Moore took a huge risk in her choice for this role. And I thought that she did a phenomenal job. I'm pretty sure one of the scenes that was submitted for the consideration is the bathroom scene, with her trying to go out for a date just as herself, and she's like not liking her outfit or not liking her makeup, and she's just scrubbing her face. That scene, my God. Even if you're somebody who fashioned yourself as being secure, right? I think there are some insecurities that are very manageable, right? But it was a scene that, for me, right, I've never felt this way with makeup, but I felt this way with my hair before. And you're like, okay, I'm gonna go out, I'm getting ready, and you're doing something with your hair or makeup. It can apply to either one, or your clothes. And you just don't like it. Like somehow you looking in the mirror, and whatever is seen, whatever is going on in your brain chemistry at that time, your emotional state or whatever, it is just not lining up. And there's this level of frustration, anger, and almost hatred towards yourself, towards your hair, towards your face. Why is the makeup not setting right? Why is it crumpling in this face? Why is my skin having a dry patch right here? Why is my hair not doing what it wanted to do? Why does my stomach look like this in this outfit? that scene just pulled out so much in me. Like, I felt my body vibrating just from remembering my own frustrations of being in the mirror and just being like, whatever is happening right now, I am not good enough for this, and fuck everything. I'm not doing it. I'm not going out. Nobody's gonna see me. I'm going dark. I'll be texting my friends like, fuck this, I'm not going out. Nothing is going right. I'm turning off all the lights. Fuck the world. Like, that was really powerful. And I think just overall, as she was delivering it, I would say this movie it made me laugh, but I love horror stuff anyway. But it also made me laugh too. Then on top, we'll get to that later. Never mind. I'll keep that separate. But yeah, I thought she did a really great job, and I thought it was very different. And honestly, I don't know if this was meant to be that, but it's almost like this movie made fun of the roles that she got picked for in the past. It's like, oh, Demi Moore is only good for being pretty in movies. And it's like, okay, well, here we go, right? And so I don't know if that was done on purpose, but if it was talked about between her and Corley, then it's a nice touch. And then lastly, we have Fernanda Torres and I'm Still Here. So Fernanda Torres is phenomenal, and it was a lot of people being like, who is that? And then you start doing like clips of her younger, and you realize you've been seeing Fernanda Torres for like decades. Fernanda Torres, much like Cynthia for me, I feel like she sat in the emotional and mental state that was needed for this film in order to deliver something so powerful and so moving that you just walk away still thinking about this film and just sitting in your feelings behind everything. I don't know, it's just really hard to describe because also, if y'all haven't watched it, it's Brazilian, and she's a Brazilian actress, and let me actually pull it up. This is one that I didn't have my notes for. Everything else I literally just memorized. So, a woman married to a former politician during the military dictatorship in Brazil is forced to chart a new path for herself and her children after her family's life is impacted by a violent and arbitrary act. Okay? So we're talking about a true story here, literally about like how the humans and just moms, right? How do you move on in the face of violence, in the face of injustice, and you're trying to herald your kids and not have them look at you as if you're the one destroying their lives? Like how to not be a villain in your children's story while trying to get them to understand that you're trying to protect them at all costs, to include laying your life down for your child. And in a state of civil unrest, global unrest, corrupt government systems, it's just tough. And it being based on a true story, a lot of times when you have biopics, essentially, we tend to want to color some of the facts and make it palatable to the audience, because I feel like sometimes directors and writers don't feel that the audience can handle the not just the truth, but like they have to put it in kid gloves for the audience. And in the movie I'm Still Here, there are no kid gloves, and you just have to sit with it. And I think that this film does a really good job at kind of like smashing through the desensitization that audiences feel whenever we see violence or experience violence. It's when we're watching it through a phone or whatever, and it's kind of like, oh, well, that's on that part of the world, or that's in that state, or that doesn't involve me. So we're making jokes and we're making memes and, you know, all of these other things. Who's going to play the killer in the next movie? Like, you see all of these things that kind of diminish the life of the person that was there. You see civil unrest everywhere, especially now. And so for this movie to come out, it really forces you to be like, this is not a joke. And what are you going to do about it? And what will you do when it's you? Will all your jokes come back to bite you in the ass, or will you actually have some compassion and some grace and figure out what your life could actually be like if it was destroyed in a single moment? So those are the films, those are the actresses, those are the performances. Now let's get into some bias. Okay, we'll start off with who I think it's going to be between, and then I'll talk about how it could be everybody else. My personal opinion, it's between Cynthia Erivo and Fernanda Torres. Like, and that's just because of how I was moved and how I felt, and then taken into consideration with variety of roles, industry recognition, public perception, quality of the film, the campaigning, choosing the right role for you, and exceptional acting skills. Like, hands down, they check every box for everything to consider. So it's really like a toss-up, to be honest. Now, one of them will get EGOT if she wins it. Cynthia is up for an EGOT. She only needs an Oscar. So there's so much anticipation behind this. And I will say, her campaigning out of all of these films, I feel like Cynthia Erivo and Wicked in general has like the best awards campaign that has happened. It is still campaigning, like the campaign that never ends. And I think that works in her favor. I think just the way that the story has been told on screen, the way it's been told just through interviews and stuff like that, like, I think she's a top contender, and I think she deserves it. On the other hand, I feel like Fernanda deserves it as well. And I also think it's really cool that the only other Brazilian to ever be nominated for Best Actress in a leading role for an Oscar is her mom. How cool is that? So it's almost like there are some groundbreaking things happening here. You could be the first Brazilian to win an Oscar, and the only other person in that category is your mama. Like, talk about legends, talk about like just impact. And if y'all don't know Brazil, boy, Brazil be going up. Somebody made a tweet, they said, I don't know which will be worse, if Fernanda wins the Oscar or if Fernanda loses the Oscar, because either way it's gonna be a parade or it's gonna be a riot. For Karla, give me a second, because I have to look this up. I don't want to say she's necessarily the first. Oh, I should have already had this. I thought I did, but I didn't. Let's see. Okay. So, yes, I found it. Karla Sofia Gascon becomes the first openly transgender actor nominated for an Oscar. So again, right? This would be huge for Karla Sofia Gascon, right? Like, the first openly transgender woman nominated. That speaks volumes to the performance. It speaks volumes to her community, all the intersectionalities of her community, and it's just a beautiful thing, right? I want to say this is Mikey Madison's first Oscar nomination, And then it's Demi Moore's first Oscar nomination as well. So then you have those going with it. And then what kind of bumps Demi up a little bit more, like Demi's been in the industry for 40 something years. She's never been nominated for like anything. She just got her first Golden Globe for The Substance, and now she's nominated for an Oscar for The Substance. And so it's like all of these things are happening. And then let me go back into Mikey Madison real quick, because I do want to give my girl some love, even though I don't see her winning. I still want to give her love. Let's see, what did she say? So I'm trying to look at her letter that she wrote. But again, yeah, this is her first nomination, and that's a huge deal. That's a huge deal. She should be very proud of that. So when I talk about bias, right, a lot of people that are voting, I read all the rules. They should be voting on these rules. But at the end of the day, it comes down to who you know, who you like. Did they even watch it? Or are they just assuming and going based off of like bias, right? And that's like, oh, I didn't watch Meryl Streep's movie, but I'm going to vote for her because I know Meryl Streep's catalog. Or Viola Davis or Denzel Washington and stuff like that. So it's like, did they even sit and take the time to watch like I did, right? Or are they just going to go based off of who they like and who they know, right? So the level of integrity is brought into question. Because while I love Demi Moore, if I'm voting, I'm probably not voting for her. You know what I mean? Because I watched all of them and I'm looking for specific things, right? One thing that kind of goes against Mikey Madison is, industry recognition. I think her mother is in the industry, so she is a Nepo baby, but they've done a really good job at keeping that separate. And honestly, I don't have any issues with nepotism. Like, please, your kids should be living better than you. Like, that's the goal, right? I don't have any issues with that. But we're talking about like variety and roles and stuff like that, and she's still new. So while she did give a performance that they clearly felt was Oscar worthy, I think there's more time for her, and I think there's a role that's gonna be there for her. And I think it's gonna be a dramatic role for sure. I just don't know that this is gonna be that. So my top two would literally be Cynthia and Fernanda. I definitely see one of them walking away from it. I do feel like it would be an upset if it was Karla or Demi. But I don't know. It's such a, like, everybody in here is so diverse. Like, they're just diverse in background, they're diverse in culture, they're diverse in ethnicity. So overall, like, I'm just super excited about this category in general because there's so much diversity in it, and not diversity for the sake of diversity, right? But just looking at them and their backgrounds and where they came from and their film career and their television career and getting to this point, then getting a horror film, a body horror film nominated for an Oscar. Like, the Oscars be snubbing horror and sci-fi categories like crazy. They don't want to give it to us at all. Even when we're nominated, they don't want to give it to us. But to have a film like The Substance in this category is absolutely insane. 2 musicals. Okay, like, people don't be liking musicals like that. Like, I'm gonna just tell y'all, they don't be liking musicals. And then you have a film about sex work, and then you have a historical film as well. So just the diversity in film, the diversity in the actors themselves, the diversity of their catalogs. I am just so excited, and I just know that this category is gonna stress me the fudge out when it happens. But I hope that y'all tune in. The Oscars will be airing on March 2nd. Let me see what it's airing on. Oscars, March 2025. So yes, it will be held Sunday, March 2nd at the Dolby Theater there, and it'll be airing on TV on ET at 6:30 p.m. Okay, so I'm gonna be watching. Will y'all be watching? The film industry, like 2023, 2024, with the strike and everything, like I've been saying, the writers came back and they were not fucking playing, like at all. The directors came back, they were not playing. People was buying their cameras. They was behind the scenes, like just readying and preparing for when it came back, and they killed it. They knocked everything out of the park. Congratulations to every nominee in every category. Good luck to you. Yeah, as always, like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell, leave a comment in the comment box below. Would love to know who your front runners are. Again, if you have people that don't want to watch but they want to listen, go ahead and share that Spotify and the Apple Podcast link. You can also head over to my podcast page at So There's That Podcast, and you can see some of the other underrated categories and people that I posted on my page, such as Best Production Design, Best Editor, Best Sound Designer, the things that happened in the background that make a movie cohesive and make you love it and cry in the first place. And you can also find me on Twitter talking my shit at Kivanshi, as well as at Kivanshi on Blue Sky Social. And I will catch y'all in the next one.